Level 1, the trust you didn't ask for. The lawyer's office smells like leather and old paper. You're 22. You sign where the tab says sign. Nobody explains what the number means, not really. Your father died in March. This is April. Grief hasn't finished with you yet, and already there's paperwork. $4.2 million. That's the figure on the page. It doesn't feel real because you've never had to make it real. You've never had to earn $1 of it, budget $1 of it, or lose $1 of it. It just exists now the way weather exists. The lawyer says the word trustee. You nod like you understand. You don't. Not until 25. Not until someone else decides you're ready to hold it yourself. You go home to an apartment your mother still pays for. You tell your roommate about the money because you don't know yet that you're not supposed to. You watch her face change, a small recalculation behind her eyes, quick and involuntary. That's the first thing inherited wealth teaches you. People's faces change the second they learn the number. You buy nothing yet. You're careful, or you think you are. But something in you has already shifted. You walk differently down the street. You know a number exists that could erase every problem you currently have, and knowing that number changes how urgent everything else feels. Rent stops matching the way it used to. Deadlines soften. You start making decisions like a person with a parachute because you are one. At night you think about your father and about the fact that he built this so quietly you never saw the seams. You wonder what else he never told you. You wonder if he ever sat in a room like this one, 22 years old, signing where the tab said sign, feeling the exact same nothing you feel now. Level 2, the first signature. At 25, the trust releases. The number is bigger now. Interest, dividends, a portfolio someone else managed while you were finishing college. $6.1 million and rising. You meet the family accountant. You meet the family lawyer. You meet the man who has managed your father's money for 11 years and calls you by your first name like he's known you since birth. He probably has, in a way, he's watched the account grow since before you could read. He explains diversification. He explains offshore holdings, though he doesn't call them that. He calls them structures for efficiency, said with the flat confidence of a man who has said it 1,000 times to 1,000 heirs. You nod. You sign. You buy a car. Not your first extravagance, your first public one. Cash, no financing, no negotiation. $118,000 wired same day. The dealer's whole posture changes when you say, in full. That's currency you didn't know you had. The ability to remove friction entirely, to make a room move faster just by existing in it. You start dating someone who doesn't know the number. It's easy, uncomplicated, almost quaint. Then you start dating someone who does know it, and something in their attention sharpens in a way you can't quite name. You can't always tell the difference between being loved and being calculated toward, and at this level you stop trying to. You tell yourself you'll stay grounded. Everyone at this level tells themselves that right before they stop being able to. You buy your mother a house she didn't ask for, mostly to see what it feels like to give something that size away. Feels good. It feels like the first real proof that the number is yours now, not just a figure someone else manages on your behalf. Level 3. The allowance becomes a weapon. By 28, you understand something nobody told you outright. Money isn't just spent, it's deployed. You fund a friend's startup. $150,000, quiet, no paperwork beyond a handshake and a term sheet you didn't read closely. He becomes grateful in a way that curdles, slowly, into obligation. He starts asking your opinion on things that have nothing to do with the money, his marriage, his next hire, his father. You realize the money bought you a vote in his life that you never explicitly asked for, and that he never explicitly gave. Your cousin needs help with a down payment. $60,000, gone in an afternoon. Your aunt needs help with a hospital bill. $22,000, gone before dinner. Each time you feel the family recalibrate around you, not around who you are, but around what you can do for them. Holidays start to feel like meetings with an agenda you weren't given in advance. You learn the first real rule of inherited power. You don't have to ask for control. People hand it to you because they need something, and you're the only door in the room that opens without a fight. You start keeping a mental ledger. Who owes you? Who's grateful? Who might ask again and when? You tell yourself it's not transactional. It is, and some nights you lie awake doing the arithmetic of other people's gratitude, and you hate how natural it started to feel. You notice, too, that your generosity has started buying you silence. Nobody in the family questions your decisions anymore, not really, not the way they used to when you were just the kid who inherited money he didn't earn. Now you're the one who bailed out the cousin, funded the startup, covered the hospital bill. Gratitude, it turns out, is the quietest form of control there is. Level 4, the foundation. At 31 you start a foundation. Everyone at your level has one. It gives $2 million a year to causes with your name quietly attached. A win here, a scholarship there, a gala with your photo in the program, printed in a font slightly larger than the others. The foundation isn't really about the causes, though you tell yourself it is. It's about the seat it buys you at tables you couldn't otherwise reach. You meet a senator at one of these galas, shaking hands under a chandelier that cost more than most people's houses. You meet a museum board chair. You meet 3 other heirs like you, and you recognize something in their eyes, the same practiced ease, the same instinct to underplay the number when strangers ask what you do. You don't have a job. You have interests. You have involvements. The foundation is the answer you give when people ask what you do, and it's a good answer because it's true and it says nothing at all. Your name starts appearing in small print, donor lists, board rosters, acknowledgments pages. Nobody reads past the first 2 names. You feel yourself becoming a name before a person. Somewhere in this level, you stop correcting people who assume you built something from nothing. It's easier to let them believe it. The lie costs you nothing and it buys you a kind of respect the money alone never quite could. Level 5, the family office. By 35, the family money is too complex for one accountant. You build a family office, 6 people whose entire job is managing what you inherited. A CIO, a tax attorney, a risk manager. A person whose only function, as far as you can tell, is reputation. The number now sits around $40 million, most of it in structures with names like holding companies and grantor trusts, designed by people whose job is to make sure it's never taxed the way ordinary income is taxed. You sign things you don't fully understand, on the advice of people paid handsomely to understand them for you. You learn the second rule. Real wealth doesn't spend, it shelters. Every dollar you touch personally is a dollar exposed. The money that matters lives in entities, in layers, in paperwork nobody outside the office ever reads, filed in jurisdictions you've never visited and never will. Your siblings start asking about the plan. Meaning, what happens when you die? Meaning, what's theirs eventually? Family dinners start feeling like negotiations conducted over dessert. Everyone's smiling while doing the same silent math. The risk manager schedules a call to discuss exposure. Not physical risk, reputational risk. A cousin's DUI. An uncle's second divorce. A photo from a party nobody remembers inviting you to. The office has a protocol for all of it now, a quiet machinery built to absorb scandal before it reaches your name. You realize you are no longer just protecting money. You are protecting a surface, a version of the family that can survive public scrutiny. You hire a person whose only job is managing your image. You didn't ask for a villain. You asked for privacy. But privacy at this level looks like control, and control looks like power, and power from the outside looks exactly like the thing you swore at 22 you'd never become. Level 6. The Gatekeeper. At 40 you sit on 3 boards. People call you before they call anyone else when they need capital, access, or a decision made quietly and without a paper trail. You control allocations now, not just your own money but capital other families route through you because you've become a name that opens doors nobody else can. A young founder pitches you for $5 million over a 2-hour lunch he clearly rehearsed. You don't invest in the company. You invest in the leverage, the seat, the information, the favor he'll owe you later whether or not the company ever succeeds. You've learned the rules of this level completely. Loyalty is bought before it's earned. Silence has a price and you pay it happily in 6 figures without blinking. Information is currency more valuable than cash, because cash runs out and information compounds quietly, for years, until you cash it in exactly when it matters. You stop being someone people love and start being someone people manage around. Your calendar is full of people who need something, color-coded by your assistant so you know at a glance who's asking for money, who's asking for access, and who's asking for both. You can no longer tell who's in the room for you and who's in the room for the number attached to your name, and you've stopped expecting to be able to. You've become fluent in a language only people like you speak. Offshore structuring, generational transfer, the family, said like a corporation, not a group of people who love each other. Somewhere in here, you realize you haven't had an unguarded conversation in years, and you can't remember exactly when that stopped bothering you. You start noticing which of your old friends have quietly become intermediaries, People who used to call just to talk who now call with a proposal attached, a friend of a friend who needs an introduction, a deal that needs a signature. You take the calls anyway. Refusing them costs more than answering, and at this level, you've learned that almost everything comes down to which cost you're willing to absorb. Level 7, the Dynasty. By 50, the number has compounded past anything one person could reasonably need, north of $300 million spread across 3 generations of structures designed to outlive you by decades. You are no longer managing money. You are managing a lineage. Every decision you make now is filtered through a single question. What does this do to the family 50 years from now, long after your name is just a plaque on a building? You draft succession plans for grandchildren who aren't born yet, allocating percentages to people who don't exist. You build governance documents that will outlive your memory of writing them. Your name becomes a noun in rooms you'll never enter. The family wants, the family believes, said by lawyers who represent an idea more than a person, an institution wearing your last name. You stop being asked what you want. You are asked what the family wants, and you've become fluent in answering as the institution rather than as yourself. So fluent that the two have started to blur even in your own head. You realize, quietly, over a dinner nobody else notices you're distracted through, that you have built a machine that will keep running long after you're gone, and that the machine no longer needs you to function. It only needs you to maintain it, the way a caretaker maintains a house he'll never really live in. Your children, the ones who exist now, are raised by people you employ in houses staffed by people you employ, attending schools whose new libraries carry your family's name on a bronze plaque by the entrance. You tell yourself this is what security looks like. Some nights, watching them sleep, you're no longer sure security and distance are different things. Level 8, the Architect. At the top, there is no ceiling left to reach. There's only maintenance. The number stops meaning anything specific. It exists in filings, in structures, in figures on screens managed by people you'll never personally meet, in countries you've never visited, under names that aren't quite yours. You could not spend it in 10 lifetimes. You stopped trying to spend it at all a long time ago. You sit in a room alone most evenings, not because you have to, because you've forgotten how to be anywhere without calculating what it costs you, and silence at least is free. You think about your father sometimes. The man who built the first dollar of all this, back when the number was small enough to still mean something to him personally. You wonder if he knew, signing his own first deals in some smaller office decades ago, that what he was building would eventually build you into something he might not fully recognize. You have everything. You are known by everyone and understood by almost no one. Power at this level isn't a feeling. It's a silence. A room that goes quiet when you enter it. A world that moves around your convenience without ever asking if you're happy in it, because nobody at this altitude thinks to ask that question anymore, least of all you. This is the cost nobody explains at the beginning. The more of it you have, the fewer people see you instead of it. You remember, faintly, a version of yourself sitting in an apartment your mother paid for, telling a roommate a number out loud just to hear how it sounded. That person still exists somewhere underneath all of this, but you can no longer reach him without going through everyone else first. The office, the foundation, the family, the name. Somewhere, a 22-year-old sits in a lawyer's office. The room smells like leather and old paper. She signs where the tab says sign. She thinks the number is the whole story. It isn't, but it will be.